All right, well, hello biology teachers. Here's starting another video. This time it is on the suggested pacing guide. So we just finished up the curriculum landing page, talked through all that for planning out your unit. And now we get down to the meat and potatoes, as you could say, for all the resources that are going to be helpful for planning out your actual lesson plans, what's going on in the classroom. So we'll start off at the top and kind of work our way down. Starting up here at the top, you got your title. This is actually a link if you click on these. These are actually the skills and knowledge page from the textbook. This is actually where I pull the objectives from. So you can get a better version of this if you just look in the book. And the teacher's edition will actually highlight different parts of the standards in each objective. What I did with this page is I pulled out those objectives and turned them into student learning language outcomes. These can be useful for your lesson planning, for writing up on your board, and you'll notice that these are numbered, which correlate to the different activities. So these objectives, objective 1 and 2, are being addressed in these activities. So that will be helpful for you to coordinate what objectives go with which activities. And feel free to tweak these as you need to. We talked about in the scope and sequence video about how it's important we start off with this frog sickle or the guiding phenomena activity. It's actually the first activity within each chapter. Students are introduced to this little thing like, oh, how come frogs can survive winter being frozen when freezing typically will destroy cells? So how do they not get destroyed? They learn about cells and all these things, and at the end there's another activity where students are then able to take all their learning and answer that question. And so those are really useful to highlight as you go through these activities. And then the standards that go with the specific chapter are linked here. Again, very useful for your lesson planning. So up here, this is all stuff that's going to help you out with your lesson planning. Each chapter in BioZone also has these challenge questions, and they come with these posters. You'll find those in the book, but kind of a cool way for students to be able to, I might post this up and see if students can answer that by the time you get through the end of the chapter. And since they're challenge questions, you can make this like an extra credit. But those are listed out there, and if you click on them, even though they don't look like a link, they are a link that will take you to that poster. They're in the book as well, so feel free to use that or the guiding phenomena however you want, so that students are connecting these ideas in a broader way. All right, coming down here to where we have all of our different resources. We're going to start over on the right, since that's our BioZone column. This is where all of our BioZone activities are listed. Now, I won't be able to show just on this page the actual BioZone activities, but I have a separate video. That'll probably be the next one in this list that you can watch for actually what's on BioZone. So many great resources there with 3D models, web links, videos, PowerPoints, all the things that you need, but we're just going to stay on here for the purposes of this video. So all these activities, I've kind of paced them out. These would be something you could theoretically do within a week. Obviously, you may not do every single one, so if you cut out a couple, this will all fit. The one thing that you do see over here is I've linked to different things. On BioZone, they provide links to outside resources, and so I've just linked to those here, so it's easier for you to see what it is that they are bringing to you. And sometimes they're articles. This one seems to be a bit more interactive. It's loading up. Oh, there you go. So now we got an interactive simulation. If I accept all the cookies. And look, it's already labeled. And so this might be a resource that you didn't know was available, and now you have access to. So these are pretty cool. They are either videos, simulation, articles, different things like that. And so it's really cool to check these out, and you might find some really useful websites and resources that you could use within your lesson. So that's kind of the BioZone, just to help you kind of see what you have available to you. As we move over here, now you have 3 separate columns of different resources at your disposal. The first one here, these are just YouTube videos that I found that correlate to the topics that your students will be learning about that week. You can use these either as a review for yourself if you need to remember some of these things. You could utilize these in the classroom for short video snippets for, hey, here's something that we want to help our discussion with. You can assign these as a resource for students for when they're doing homework. Now they have a reference video to go off of. You can add these into Nearpod, add questions into them, and now it's an assignment. So feel free to use those as you'd like, but now you don't have to go searching for different videos. I've highlighted them. And I've tried to pick like big name channels that have quality content and vary it up a bit. So hopefully you'll find a lot of good channels for you to access and share with your students. Coming over to the right, these are our hands-on and virtual labs. So this helps with you planning ahead. You can kind of see, oh, I have activity 33 that has a lab that requires some materials. If you click on this, it'll actually give you a quick picture of what materials are needed. I actually just took these screenshots from the back of the book that highlights all the labs. And so this one's about looking at onion leaves underneath a microscope. So you'd have to have all the microscope stuff and the onion leaf for that lab activity. I've also highlighted any gizmos and PhET. There's not typically a lot of PhET simulations in biology, but the few that there are, I've highlighted. So this would take you straight to a gizmo activity on cell types. So you don't have to go searching for them again. So here's a PhET about gene expression. You won't see very many PhET. And then I've also highlighted some MoLeap blocks. We've shared those in some of our trainings. These are just state-created. They're sort of lab and investigation style activities. They come with the PowerPoint, and they'll tie into the discussions having here, but they're very based on standards, which are kind of nice. So use that one to kind of plan out and plan ahead. Okay. Next up, as we continue going over, now we have our study.com and Nearpod. I'm going to have separate videos that dive deep into how to utilize those resources specifically. All I want to highlight here is I've listed out some of the lessons here. So for example, here's a study.com video that you could use based off DNA. All the other ones, if it doesn't say study, so either video, lesson, or an activity, I don't have any listed there, those are going to be Nearpod, whereas if it says study, that's a study.com. I've listed out just some of the resources. That doesn't mean that's all of them. So if you want to find all of the resources from Nearpod, if you just click on this folder, that should take you to a folder for this chapter specifically with all the resources I was able to find and gather that talks about that topic. And you should be able to kind of choose what you would like to use. So that'll load it up from the district library, Unit 1, Chapter 2, and look at all the, like this is way more than that was listed. So you have a lot more available to you. And there are some activities for review. Same thing for study.com. I've only listed a few things, but if you click on this logo of study.com, you can go watch the video about how to set up your study.com. And right now it's not showing me logged in, but there's an entire course full of videos, resources, and all that. It's not going to look like this. It's just showing me this view because I'm not logged in. But each of these would be its own separate video lesson. It's broken up by standard, just like our curriculum is. There's pre-assessments, post-assessments, practice, all sorts of resources at your disposal. I've just kind of picked out and highlighted a few things that you can use. But you could definitely go all in with study.com and you'd have a lot of resources at your disposal. Check out those videos for more detailed description of how you can use those and set them up. But those are available to you as well. So hopefully you're starting to see this is your real planning area where you can identify your activities, grab any resources from Nearpod, study.com, gizmos. What does it look like to create an engaging lesson in my block of time that's more than just I'm doing one thing today? You can do so much with what we have available. All right, I think that's all I need to cover. As you get down to the end, each chapter ends with a review and an assessment. You can use those, and the last chapter in each unit will also highlight the project. Remember, we're doing about Biosphere 2. And if you're ready to move on to the next concept, you can just click on this over arrow, and now you go on to Concept 2. Or if you want to go right back up to the top, just say beam me up, and you're back up at the top of the page. So hopefully those navigations you find useful. All right, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about the suggested pacing guide and seeing all those resources come together. And I hope you have a good time lesson planning. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.